Okay, so we're creating a shared folder on our server 3 for software distribution point for our Microsoft installer files. They can be deployed with group policy. Now, public, we allowed some users, all users in the company, to be able to put files on there and read files. When you're creating a software distribution point, you typically don't want your users at your company to be able to see those. You want this to be done through what you want pushed out. You don't want a user to find these files and install them onto their local machines, because you want to control what machines they're being installed onto. So let's go to task up here in server manager and create a new share. So we'll create a quick share on server 3's E drive. Nothing magical yet, similar to how we shared out public. The share name, this is going to be kind of new. I'm going to share it as app $. The $sign has a special meaning with Microsoft shares. It makes the share hidden. And we'll view what that means when we get done with this and actually go try to look at server 3. It just basically means you're not going to see app $. You'll see public to click on and open up. But if you look at server 3, you're not going to see the app $sign available. So regular users are not going to be able to easily find it. So you'll have to be an IT staff member to have it documented, or just remember where it exists and it has to be manually typed out. Or you can see it in server manager that it's been shared as a hidden share. Well, that's kind of cool. Putting the $sign, it has to be at the very end of the share for it to work. So I'll go next. We'll go ahead and move the checkbox down. I wish that was the default. Need permissions. So I'm going to customize permissions. And here's the question. Do you remember the answer to the share tab? I'm going to give you about a minute, 2 minutes here to answer that. See if anybody remembers what the answer was. Okay, it looks like several of y'all have done something anyway. It's really tiny on my screen, but I did something. So everyone, I hope you went in and edited and removed the full control permission for everyone, implementing higher security, what's called mandatory access control. And that you clicked on add, and you added in the administrators group, having to change the locations to server 3 and typing administrators. Plural, and giving the administrators group full control. And I hope that you double checked yourself and look to make sure that you've seen double faces there and you did not see a single face like you accidentally typed administrator. You don't want to see that. The single face is something you don't want to see. It's always best practice to use groups and not user accounts on anything. We'll discuss that later on, but That's a double check for you. If you see in a single face in the list, it's probably wrong. You always see the double faces there. Or if the single face is not a best practice to do anyway. So that's always the answer to the share tab, no matter what we're doing. The permissions tab, though, this tab is going to be different. So I don't want my users like John Doe, Jane Doe, or anybody else to access this hidden share. One thing, I've got it hidden, but there still might be a smart user out there somewhere that can find it. I don't want them to be able to access the files. Right now, users can read and execute, and they have also got a special permission. They can create files with that special permission. So I got to get rid of them. If I click on the users to remove them, does it allow me? Or do you get an error when you try to remove users? What do you think we can do to fix it? It says turn off inheritance. So do I see anywhere where I can turn off inheritance? So we have a disable inheritance button. If I click on it, it asks me a question. Do you want to remove everything, or do I just want to convert the permission? You probably never want to start from scratch. So you probably always want to use the word convert. If you're running an older server, like 2008 server, I think it says copy and remove. 2012 server and forward, I believe it says convert and remove. So you always want to use convert. I don't want to start from the beginning and try to hack everything in. So always just convert. That way I can deal with what's there. So I've converted the permission. And typically you don't want to remove the administrator's control to a folder. That would be removing your access to the folder. So you typically don't want to do that. Notice there's system here. That's the operating system itself, the Windows kernel. You normally don't want to remove Windows rights to a folder. You really can't. Even if you remove it, it's almost implied that they have rights. But the system is things like virus scanning and backup and, defragmenter. The actual operating system normally needs access to everything on the hard drive. So you typically never remove that. And then the creator owner is also something you typically always leave there. Whoever creates a file is the owner of the file, gets full control of the file they create. So those top three permissions, I never deal or remove. Then we got the bottom two, users. It's almost like saying everybody on the computer system. When you're wanting to block, you don't want everybody to have access to something. Typically just remove those two off the system. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take the users off. So when you do have to limit permissions, that's typically my first step, is I disable inheritance and I get rid of users. And then I add in only the people that need access to the folder. So that's pretty much my starting point. It's almost like take a picture of that. That would be your starting point on the permissions tab if you do have to limit permissions down. Okay, so at this point, this is going to be an automated process, and only the computers, only like the Windows 10, Windows 7 workstations are going to be connecting to the share. And guess what? Computers joined to the domain, they're actually kind of treated almost like a user account, just about. It's a computer account, but they do have, you can give a computer rights and not a user rights. So I'm going to give a computer rights to be able to access this shared folder. So I'm going to click add, and I'll select the principal name. And there's a really cool group out here called Domain Computers. And that Domain Computers group automatically has every computer account that's joined into your Contosa.com. And I'm going to give them the ability to just read and execute. Notice if you try to uncheck the others, notice read and execute, it auto checks any permission that's a part of a higher level permission. That's kind of a weird thing. We'll have to discuss more at a later time, but some permissions are combinations of the others and they auto check. That's considered read only, those 3 checkboxes. That's almost never used. Doesn't really make complete sense. You normally need to list the folder contents, and you typically need to execute programs inside of a folder. So read only is something that your boss might say, but in reality, you need read and execute. Your boss doesn't understand read and execute versus read only. My experience anyway. Okay. I'm gonna hit OK. That's all I did. Added domain controllers. They got rights to this folder. Also, me as an administrator, I have rights to the folder because I'm going to have to put files in there for the computers to read. But John Doe probably not smart enough to find the hidden apps $ share, and if he did, he wouldn't have rights to it because he's not an administrator and users don't have rights to the folder. Kind of cool. It's kind of a rare setup, creating an apps deploy, probably not something you'd normally do, or if you do set it up, it'd be a one-time setup. But there's how you'd set up a folder to deploy applications out to Windows machines. Okay, so I'll click OK, and I'll go ahead and finish out this share. So I do see it in Server Manager. And here's the magic. If I open up File Explorer, and I do whack whack server 3, and I view server 3, where's my apps $? It's not there. That's the magic. Amazing. Now you know how to hide stuff on your home network. Share out folders with the $, and you can access stuff from all over the house and your siblings' computers, but they can't ever find what you're doing. Okay, so if I put a backslash app or app $, right? Yeah, app $, hit enter, it opens it up for me. But I had to manually type all of in because it's hidden, so the only way to get there is to know the actual spelling of it. You could alternatively right-click on it in Server Manager and say open, and it would auto-open it that way. Mind-blowingly cool stuff. Y'all look kind of bored though. I shouldn't look bored. Y'all should have like evil thoughts going through your head on what you're going to do to your roommates or siblings or parents or whatever, and hiding stuff on the network. It's like, oh, all my devious stuff can be hidden now, and only I will know how to get there.
They already don't know.
Yeah. Check this out. $. Huh. There's an E drive on server 3. Wonder if I do $C$, if I could see the root of my sibling's computer. Huh. I could find that over the network if I knew the administrator account anyway. Had admin rights. There's an automatic hidden share of all the drive letters. Interesting. Firewall lets me through. Yeah, I could really go in and screw with. Go find his accounts and go to his desktop and just start creating icons, and they would start wondering why his icons appearing on my desktop, calling me an idiot. Who's calling me an idiot? I'm telling y'all too much evil stuff to do. I think I might learn better though if y'all know evil things to do or not. I'm gonna go try that at home. Again, the firewall would have to be opened up. File and printer sharing is shut down on client 1, so I don't think I can see client 1 C drive because firewall. Well, no, oh, it did. Okay. Domain, yeah, domain's got that open. So hey, there's client 1. There we go. There's John Doe. Let's go put something on his desktop. Something kind of. So now as I log in as John Doe, there'll be something on the desktop. Okay, so y'all learned some evil stuff, but that normally perks some interest. I've seen some evil thoughts in y'all's heads kind of go across. Let's get back to the mission at hand. The mission at hand is to deploy Google Chrome with group policy. We need to get Google Chrome into this app share. So I'm going to right click, and it's already closed down the window. I'm going to open it back up. So there's my folder. You need to be in enhanced session mode. So if you mouse over the icon, that's the last icon in your bar, and it says basic session mode, you're good. If you mouse over it and says enhanced session mode, click it. Switch over to enhanced session mode. That'll allow us to use copy and paste. So we can copy and paste files. We had to do that with our Visual Studio Code. So we're doing the same thing this time. We're making sure we're in enhanced session mode. And we're going to go download Google Chrome Enterprise. So we're going to Google. I can't do it from my server because we have no internet. So I have to use Google. And I got to search for like Chrome Enterprise download or something along those lines. And I find the enterprise download of Google Chrome. It's the top link. We can download the Chrome bundle for Windows, the latest version. Why not? Go ahead and download this 95 meg file, accept and download. And it comes in as a zip file. Find it in your downloads folder and copy the, well, actually, we don't need to copy all of it. We can, yeah, let's go and copy the whole thing. Why not? And right click copy. And you should be able to paste it into your app share. If you're in enhanced session mode, that is. So I pasted that inside of my Whack Server 3 app, $. So this is a compressed zip file. It is not the MSI file that I'm needing. I'm going to have to extract it. So once that it's copied in place, I'll need to open up this compressed zip file and find the 60, 70, 80 meg, whatever size MSI installer file and get it out of this compressed folder. So as I double click on it, it will let me find the folders inside of it. There's some documentation, configuration files, installers. There's some things that we will use in LAN 2. You can actually implement and have group policies for Google Chrome if you do it correctly, but we're not doing that this semester. We're just looking for the installer, and we're looking for the big file, 71 meg, 70 meg. You divide it by 1024, it shows 69.9 meg. But I'm going to copy that and up here in the little, we normally call this like a footprint. I'm going to click back up here at apps, and I'll just copy and paste that MSI out of the zip file. That way it's accessible. So copied and pasted. I don't see the file extension. How do you view file extensions? Anybody know? Quick view. Quick file name extensions. Yay. Good job. So on the view menu, you can enable file name extensions. I normally like to do that. They like to hide them, but I like to view file extensions. The reason for that, you download something and a hacker is actually put like .pdf and then .exe. So if file names extensions are hidden, it hides the exe and shows you .pdf, and you think, oh, that's a PDF file, and you double click it, and it's actually an executable Trojan. So just my 2 cents into that. Everybody else is trying to hide things from end users. They say that they're idiots and they don't need to see that stuff. I'm smart enough to know what a file extension is and to know if it's a virus or not. Well, at least know that trick anyway. Okay, well, that's all beside the point. Does everybody have the installer extracted into the app share? It looks like it. Cool. So how do I get this on the Windows 10 machine without actually logging in and double clicking the installer and running it? So we do that by deploying it out to group policy. What I have to do, I need to copy the path location. I always find it easiest just if I'm looking at the installer, click in the location bar and copy that, because I don't want to make a typo. It's too easy to make a typo. So I will copy this location. One time I accidentally put a trailing backslash on the end of a share path, and it stopped group policy from working and deploying out a product. Took me 2 weeks of reading through blog posts and troubleshooting and trying to figure out why something didn't work, because I typed it in instead of copying and pasting, and I added an extra trailing backslash. When we actually start getting to that exact point, I'll point that out again, but make sure you can view it in File Explorer and copy. Don't try to just blindly type some path. Okay, now we're ready to try to deploy this out. So we launch group policy. Remember, it puts it behind the server manager, so you got to click it in the title bar. I think Eric has his minimized like that. It's down to your lower left corner of that window. Yeah, you got the gray screen. You see at the very, very bottom. You got to maximize. That was weird. Okay. Our computers are in the workstation's organizational units. That's where our client one is. So I'm going to create a group policy there. There's no point in creating a Google Chrome deployment for a user because I can't install Google Chrome into the employees. They would probably scream. Most of the time, it's either represented by lights or electricity, and they would scream if they were being electrocuted by the zeros and ones of Google Chrome trying to go into their skin and install into them. Okay, yeah, weird thoughts, but we're going to create a group policy object for workstations because that's where I want to put stuff, and I'll name it Google Chrome deploy. That makes sense. If I had other, maybe I'll break stuff out into rooms and stuff. If I have more computers installed and I create more organization units, I could easily link the Google Chrome deploy to other organizational units, like servers. If I needed it to be deployed to servers, look, I can right click servers and link an existing GPO and pick it. And because it's named correctly, I'd know how to get Google Chrome on the servers if I wanted to. I'm going to cancel it, but the policy can be linked to more than one spot. So that's cool. Now I got to do more than just name it what I want it to do. Because some people in the world think they can just name something, the computer knows what they're supposed to do. It's not that smart yet. They don't have Data's positronic brain. That's not been developed. Maybe some century it will be, but not today. So we got to edit that Google Chrome deploy and spec everything out exactly what this computer needs to do. So as I expand out policies, I see there's software settings. As I expand out software settings, notice it's under computer configuration. I have this section here for software installation. Sweet. Right click on it and go to new package. Why did they have to have a extra little window pop out when that's the only option under it? I don't know. That annoys me sometimes when there's just one thing. Why didn't they just put new package right there instead of whatever? So in your address bar up here, it may have taken you to the last place that you visited, which is probably public the other day. In a dollar box similar, it may be on the C drive or whatever. I'm just going to paste the app share and hit enter. Once you do that, you should see the Google MSI. Highlight it and go ahead and click on open. One other little trick, you can go and click open. It'll take a little bit for it to show up. You never want to see a drive letter in the path. If you see a drive letter up there, I've seen some people share on the same computer, like server 3 may have had a full graphics install instead of being a core install, and they're using the tools. So they browse the local C drive or E drive and click on it. So now the Windows 10 sees, go to E drive, go to this folder, install it. Well, Windows 10 doesn't have an E drive, so it can't find it. So always make sure it's the network path. That's what the Windows 10 needs to see. And click open. We're going to assign it. And it's got to read the MSI. It's got to auto basically generate an unattended installation file. Google developed it to follow Microsoft standard, to follow group policy, so it can be deployed without any end user interaction. Yay. After a few minutes, mine popped in and said assigned. Kind of a weird version number, since I think it's actually version 88 something. I don't know what 68.57 means, but kind of cool. I'm also recording this, so this will be on the YouTube thing. I think there's some other YouTubes now to do this later on in the semester. But so once that's there, let's go ahead and close out. Let's go check on our client machine now. So as I connect into the client machine, I'm going as John Doe, because I wanted to see my icon, my you smell text file on the desktop. You're gonna freak relatives and friends out, aren't you? Okay, so beyond that, freaking somebody out like that, we could wait our 3 hours and then reboot the computer. The installation of software is done at the start of when computers start up. So that's why a lot of companies use a third party that they can actually push an application, and it's not like passive, meaning the computer has to be booting up for it to install the software. I don't want to wait the 3 hours, so I'm going to run a GP update /force. I guess just a regular PowerShell prompt. I don't need to be admin. A GP update /force will tell it to reread the group policy, and if it detects correctly, it'll ask you to tell you that you need to reboot for the policy to take effect, because Chrome installation can only be done via boot up time. So if I do a GP update /force, I'm hoping it'll tell me I need to restart the computer. So this is something end user wouldn't know how to do. You'd basically have this thing deployed, and the next day when users are saying, hey, I don't have Chrome yet, tell them to reboot their computer, and it should auto install for them. So do you want to restart? Sure, yes. But the normal business scenario on this is you would deploy it out one day, and you would go home and get a good night's sleep, come back the next day, and the software would be on all the machines because people would boot them up at 8 o'clock in the morning. You might be getting tech support calls though, going, my computer's taking a long time to start up, especially if it's a big file, because it'll install before the login prompt. You're hoping your users walk in and hit the power button on the computer and then leave their office to go to the get coffee. Uh-oh, getting Windows ready. Working on features. So that part right there might annoy users a little bit, is their wait. What's on your desktop when you log in? Chrome. Isn't that neat? So that's one of those things. Your boss says, go install Chrome on all the machines. And there's like 15,000 of them. So you could deploy with group policy. Yeah, 15,000 nodes in your network. Probably have some third-party software to help manage beyond just what Active Directory comes with. Of course, there's no internet. We don't have internet, but close it down. You can probably play the dinosaur game if there's no internet. It's break time. If you don't know about the dinosaur game, I'll show you after break. Okay, so I said I'd show you the dinosaur game if you've never seen it in Google Chrome. Basically, we try to go to a site and you don't have internet. It should load up and allow you to play a game. And there is a reason behind this. The dinosaur game there we go. So no internet. It's space bar. Dinosaur starts running along, and you gotta jump over. Until you hit something, and it starts to like change speed, and then you die. It's kind of like an old Atari game. There's no end to it. There is no win. You just keep getting bigger and bigger score. I think there actually somebody had a computer control this thing and not play it to the end until it high score got such a large number. I don't know. There's some interesting YouTube videos on the dinosaur game. So why did I show you that? Well, in LAN 2, when we expand upon our group policy, we talk about how that we can install and control Google Chrome through group policy settings. One of those settings is to disable the dinosaur game. So that might be a project for your first week or your first 2 weeks of your LAN 2 class, is to deploy Google Chrome out and set it up where you can control Google Chrome through group policy and disable the dinosaur game. But that's going to be next fall, I guess. I don't even remember that it has a dinosaur game by then. I don't know, it's a game, y'all might. Y'all might remember. What's a dark mode? Wait, how did you get to dark mode? Okay. Okay, well, the dinosaur game's pointless. Google's got their streaming gaming service out there, and they decided to shut down the game development side of it. They're going to just let third parties, because they said their engineers just aren't game designers, and they suck really bad at designing games. So they dismantled that department, but they're going to keep the streaming service going. We'll see how that goes. I've not tried any streaming game stuff. Yeah, I didn't do my shift delete. Y'all remember shift delete? Did y'all know about this little neat trick? Right click and create a new folder and name it God mode dot curly brackets. And this gets a little bit long. ED 7 BA 470 dash 8E54 dash 465 E dash 825C dash 99712043 E0 1C and close your curly bracket. And hit enter. So you got a cool little icon on the screen. Maybe. And you double click it. And what do you have? A listing of all of, or a lot of the Windows settings, all in one big long list, instead of having to go to different snap-ins to find the setting or the links. So anybody know that that existed? I did decades ago, and then I forgot about it. And then a student a semester or two ago says, "Hey, whatever happened to? Why don't you teach the God mode link?" I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, forgot about that. So how much RAM is on this computer? 4 gig. So they're just links taking you to right to the whatever setting you want to see or change. So you got to memorize. Y'all got that memorized, right? I'll never forget that big long code. You just Google for like Windows God mode and copy and paste the link if you ever want to create it on a new folder. howtogeek.com, one site that had the instructions. So questions on what we did? I have a question. Logged in as John Doe, and I find my app's $sign. Do I have access to the Google Chrome installer? If John Doe just happened to have seen or found an app $sign, and no, we can't. John Doe does not have permission to that $sign. We only gave computer accounts access to that. Well, let's go ahead and visually see that in Active Directory users and computers. So in Active Directory users and computers, one last little watch of this thing. I'm going to launch it under my tools menu. I'm going to look under users. And there's the group domain computers that we use to give permission to the app's $ or app $ share. If I double click on that group and look at who's a member of that, I see that client 1 is a member of that, and also server 1 or server 3 is a member of domain computers. So these here are all the accounts on the Active Directory that are not domain controllers will be placed into the domain computers organizational unit. I can double click on domain controllers and see the grouping of accounts, servers that are domain controllers in the organization. So that was automatically done. I can click on domain users here. Who's a member of domain users? Every user account, including the administrator account stuff, is a part of domain users. You remember that was the default that had read and execute and the special permission to the app's $ when we created it. So if we would have left them, Jane Doe and John Doe would have been able to access that folder, but we disabled inheritance and removed domain users access, so they don't get access. Pretty cool. Domain admins. The administrator is a domain admin. Sweet. There's an enterprise admins group. The administrator is a member of it too. That's a forest-wide group. Enterprise admins is only contains the administrator from the very first domain you set up. When we went in and said we needed to create a new forest and domain and create a Gatos.com, that administrator has rights. That kind of causes trouble with us here because Jonesboro set up the forest for the ASU system. So our administrators here for the ASU BB domain can't do certain tasks. They have trouble adding or upgrading anything about our domain function level and things like that because they don't have the password for the administrator that's in a domain called asusystem.org. That was what started the forest. They're constantly, or well, not constantly, but every so often they got to call up and get a schedule, like Zoom meeting with the chief admin at Jonesboro for him to put his password in for them to do certain things. Normally not too bad though. It's only if you're trying to deal with the structure of Active Directory do you need enterprise admin rights. Your local administrator can manage all the user accounts, all the computer accounts and stuff joined in. But it's just the upgrade process. They're upgrading from 2008 server to 2019 server. And they've had to have some help with that. Okay, I think that's all I want to go over today. I think that's enough. That's pretty big, creating a shared, and I think I'll give you the rest of the time to maybe work a little bit on test out and